Hey guys, it's Bree. So I wanted to do a quick mid-year comics that I've been loving. Um, the comics world is super big and vast, and I wanted to give you some kind of comics that I have been enjoying over the last couple of months that if you have not already read them, I think you should read. I have 5 recommendations here. The first one is Rocket Girl by Brandon Montclare and Amy Reeder. Amy Reeder has won an Eisner for her art and she's fantastic. This is about a girl from centuries in the future who's part of the New York teen police force. And in her version of the future, there is time travel. And so she's going back to the 1980s to try to prevent time travel from ever having existed. It has really dynamic artwork and a fun plot. It's not necessarily the most original, but I think it's pretty well executed, and I really enjoyed it. I do know also that they are starting back up, I think, this month in May. So you should be able to, if you want, read the first trade and then pick right up with the series. The next comic that I have might be familiar to you. That's the Saga of Rex. This is done by Michel Gagne, whose artwork probably looks fairly familiar, not because you may have read this one, but because he has done a lot of different kind of kids cartoon movies, I guess you would say. He has been a creative lead and an animator on a number of different Pixar and like Nickelodeon movies, and is generally just really visually oriented. You can really tell when you're reading his novels that he has that kind of movie eye. The Saga of Rex is about a little fox who gets abducted by aliens who are looking for kind of perfect specimens to bring into their replicated world. And Rex is kind of sent on this adventure with another alien, and it spends the time being a fox, basically. It has some beautiful design. Let's see if I can't find some photos for you. So there he is. You can tell it's got that kind of influence to the artwork. This is pretty enjoyable. It's kind of a family-friendly read. And on top of that, they just developed a script to put the Saga of Rex into a movie. And because Michel Gagne is, in fact, a cartoonist and a movie animator, I expect that that would probably be a really good movie. So up next, I have Mouse Guard. If you were a kid growing up in probably the 80s and 90s, you almost certainly ran into Brian Jacques' Redwall at some point or another. It's a story about mice living in like a monastery. This is a similar idea. It's about the Mouse Guard, which is a bunch of mice who protect the kind of villages of the mice from different predators like weasels and snakes and things like that. It's really, the artwork I thought was pretty great. It's a little bit more of a sketch feel to it. It's not all clean lines, but the story is really interesting. In this particular installment, this is Fall 1152, which is I think the first in the Mouse Guard universe. There is a traitor among the Mouse Guard, and they are trying to find out who that traitor is. It's a lot of fun. It does get a little gory and graphic at times. Maybe not the best if you're going to be sharing it with a young and easily scared child, but definitely a lot of fun. One of my favorites that I read most recently is the Death-Defying Dr Mirage. This is going to be turned into a movie, and in fact is going to be one of the first superhero-ish movies done outside of the Marvel and DC universes. The Death-Defying Dr Mirage is about a woman who is a parapsychologist. She is kind of like an intermediary with the dead. She sees spirits and can enter into the spirit world, as basically followed around by spirits all day and night, except for the spirit of her late husband, who she cannot for the life of her get in contact with. And so this is kind of about her desperate search for him, as well as her journey through grief. This is, I think, a very interesting and very multi-layered story. Very aware of the emotional dynamics of the character involved. This is by Jen Van Meter, Roberto De La Torre, and David Barron. Jen Van Meter is married to Greg Greca, who works over at Image. And then I have an ongoing series, which is not currently in trades yet. So the way that comics works, you have trades, which are these kind of larger, more book-looking like things. And then you have single issues, which are these really super floppy. They're like 60 pages tops, bound with staples. They kind of look like magazines. And these are installments that are later put together into a trade. Descenders is obviously the one that I've been showing because I've been flapping it around here on the screen. This is a story by Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen. Jeff Lemire is a longtime comics author and is absolutely fantastic at what he does. Dustin Nguyen does some beautiful work. This is about a world where there's kind of been a kind of robot uprising, and AI has been taking over slowly. The chief and most capable robotics engineer has gone into this really deep depression because he has no more resources. And then they find this little robot boy has been abandoned on a planetary colony. And it's kind of about the adventure to save the world. It's really a very beautifully done series. It's been out for 3 months. Don't let that panic you. If you are not somebody who's done single issues before, they will keep up to 6 or 7 backlogged issues. So you can generally go to your comic store and get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. They'll hold on to like 7 months worth of new releases for you. I'm just going to show you a little bit of the art in here because it's done almost exclusively in watercolor. And the artwork is just so gorgeous. It's very dark, very... it almost feels like you're watching someone's dream in a lot of ways. But it's done... That's the newest one. I shouldn't show you that one. But it's absolutely beautiful and really very expressive when it shows certain characters. This is maybe one of my favorite panels. This is the robot invading Earth, which is lying in wait below. So those are my top 5 comics that I've read so far this year. I will link to them below in case you don't have a comic shop, but they are definitely worth picking up.